General Park Yuna stood at the window of her office on Earth, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and red. She was 53 years old, and she had spent 30 of those years in the military. The galaxy knew her as the Iron Maiden of Sol. They said she had never lost a battle. They said she could break enemy fleets with a single command. They said she was the most dangerous human alive. But tonight, she was not thinking about war. She was thinking about her sons. Doyen and Jiwoo were 17 years old. They were twins, born just 3 minutes apart. Doyen was the quiet one, always reading, always thinking. Jiwoo was the loud one, always laughing, always making jokes. They were different in many ways, but they shared one thing. They both had their mother's eyes. 3 days ago, she had watched them board a transport ship to Meridian Prime. It was a neutral space station, far from Earth, where young humans could meet aliens for the first time. The Galactic Council had promised it was safe. They had signed agreements. They had given their word. Yuna had not wanted them to go. Something in her heart had felt wrong. But her sons had begged her. They wanted to see the galaxy. They wanted to learn about other species. And she had said yes because she loved them, because she wanted them to have the life she never had. Now she waited for their call. They were supposed to contact her every evening. But tonight, her screen stayed dark. 1 hour passed. Then 2, then 3. Yuna tried to call them. No answer. She called the station. No answer. She called the Earth's embassy on Meridian Prime. The ambassador's face appeared on her screen, and she knew immediately that something was wrong. His skin was pale. His hands were shaking. "General Park," he said, "I am so sorry. Your sons. They were taken." The world stopped. "Taken," Yuna repeated. The word felt strange in her mouth. Taken by whom? The Galactic Council. They sent security forces. They said it was for galactic safety. They said humans are becoming too powerful. They took your sons as insurance. Yuna did not move. She did not blink. She did not breathe. "They took my children," she said slowly, "to use them against humanity." "Yes, General. I tried to stop them. I swear I tried. But there were too many. They had weapons. They had ships. They said your sons are now wards of the Council. They said you will receive official communication soon." The screen went dark. Yuna stood alone in her office. For a long moment, she did nothing. She simply stood there, looking at the empty screen. Then she walked to her desk and sat down. Her hands were steady. Her face was calm. But inside her chest, something cold and terrible was waking up. The official communication came 1 hour later. A tall alien with gray skin and 4 eyes appeared on her screen. His name was Velthus, and he was the High Arbiter of the Sindari Collective, the most powerful species in the Galactic Council. "General Park Yuna," he said. His voice was smooth and confident. "I hope this message finds you well. Where are my sons?" Velthus smiled. It was not a kind smile. "They are safe. They are being treated with respect. They will not be harmed as long as humanity cooperates." "Cooperates with what?" "With the will of the Galactic Council. You see, General, humanity has grown too fast. 300 years ago, you discovered space travel. Now you have colonies on 50 worlds. You have warships that rival our own. You have weapons that make us ... nervous. The Council has decided that humanity needs to slow down. Your sons will ensure that you listen." Yuna looked at him. Her face showed nothing. "You kidnapped my children to threaten my species. We prefer the term protective custody. Think of it as motivation, General. Humanity will reduce its military. Humanity will stop expanding. Humanity will accept its place in the galaxy. And in return, your sons will live comfortable lives as guests of the Council. And if we refuse..." Velthus leaned forward. "Then I am afraid your sons will become examples of what happens when humans do not cooperate." The threat hung in the air like poison. Yuna was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice was soft, dangerously soft. Arbiter Veltos, I want you to listen very carefully. I am going to say this only once. Velthos raised one of his eyebrows. I am listening. You've made a mistake. You have studied humans for centuries. You know about our strength, our endurance, our stubbornness, but you do not understand what we become when you threaten our children. You do not understand what a mother becomes when her babies are taken from her. She stood up slowly. I am not just a general. I am not just a soldier. I am a mother, and you have taken my sons. So here is what will happen. You will return Doyan and Jiwoo to me within 72 hours. They will be unharmed. They will be healthy. They will be free. Althus laughed. And if we do not? Yuna's eyes were cold. Colder than space, colder than death. And I will come for them myself. And I will burn everything between here and your homeworld to get them back. I will tear through your fleets. I will break your defenses. I will make the Council understand why humanity learned to survive on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. You wanted to teach us fear? High Arbiter? Let me teach you what fear truly means. She ended the transmission. For 1 minute, she stood alone in the silence. Then she pressed a button on her desk. This is General Park Yuna, Supreme Commander of the United Earth Defense Force. Priority Alpha 1. Assemble all fleet admirals. Activate all military reserves. Wake up every soldier, every pilot, every engineer we have. She paused and looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, her sons were waiting for her. They were scared. They were alone. But they would not be alone for long. Humanity's going to war. The news spread across Earth in minutes. Then it spread to the colonies. Then it spread to every human ship in the galaxy. 2 boys had been taken. The sons of General Park Yuna had been kidnapped by the Galactic Council. At first, people did not believe it. The Council was supposed to be a peaceful organization. They were supposed to protect all species. They were supposed to be fair. But the evidence was clear. Video recordings showed Council soldiers grabbing Doyan and Jiwoo. Audio recordings captured their screams for help. Official documents proved that the Council had planned this for months. Humanity had never been truly united. There were always arguments between nations, between colonies, between people. But in that moment, something changed. Every human, no matter where they lived, felt the same thing. Anger. Deep, burning, terrible anger. If the Council could take the General's sons, they could take anyone's children. The United Earth Parliament called an emergency session. Leaders from every nation and every colony gathered in the Great Hall. General Park Yuna walked to the center stage. The room fell silent. She looked tired. She had not slept in 2 days, but her voice was strong. 2 days ago, the Galactic Council took my sons. They did this to send a message to humanity. They wanted to show us that we are weak, that we are small, that we should know our place in the galaxy. She paused. They made a mistake. They thought that by hurting one family, they could control an entire species. They do not understand humans. They do not understand what we do when our children are threatened. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of presidents and prime ministers, generals and admirals. I am not here to ask for permission. I am here to tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to get my sons back. I am going to make the Council pay for what they have done. And I am asking humanity to stand with me. Not because I am your general, but because today it was my children. Tomorrow, it could be yours. The room exploded with noise. People were shouting, cheering, crying, and one by one, they stood up. Fleet Admiral Cho Soon-hoon was the first. He was 60 years old, a veteran of a dozen battles. The second fleet is yours, General. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. We will follow you to the end of the galaxy. Admiral Baek Yoonji stood next. She commanded the Stealth Division, the shadow ships that could move unseen through enemy space. My ships are ready. We will find where they are keeping your sons, and we will bring them home. Admiral Yoon Taiwan of the First Fleet stepped forward. Give the order, General. We will make them remember why they should have left humanity alone. One by one, every military leader pledged their support. Then the civilian leaders joined. Presidents promised resources. Prime ministers offered factories. Colony governors volunteered their people. Within hours, the entire human species was preparing for war. Dr. Han Myra arrived at the Parliament building that night. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She was also the smartest person humanity had ever produced. For 20 years, she had led Project Prometheus, a secret weapons program that the Council did not know about. She met with General Yuna in a private room. "I heard what happened," Mira said. "I am sorry about your boys. Can you help me get them back?" Mira nodded. "Project Prometheus is ready. We have weapons that can disable entire fleets without killing. We have shields that can stop any attack. We have engines that can outrun anything in the galaxy. The Council thinks they know human technology. They have no idea." Yuna felt something like hope for the first time in days. "How soon can we deploy?" 48 hours. Maybe less, if we work through the night." Do it. While the military prepared, something else was happening across human space. Something the Council had not expected. Civilians were volunteering. Not just soldiers, but ordinary people. Teachers, doctors, farmers, engineers. They showed up at recruitment centers by the millions. They did not want to fight. They wanted to help. They wanted to build ships, make weapons, heal the wounded. They wanted to do something old veterans came out of retirement. Young people lied about their age to join. Families donated money, food, medicine. Factories that made cars started making weapons. Factories that made toys started making ammunition. The Galactic Council had wanted to scare humanity into submission. Instead, they had woken up something ancient, something dangerous, the survival instinct of a species that had clawed its way up from the mud of a hostile planet. General Yuna watched the reports come in. Ships being loaded, soldiers being trained, weapons being built. Her people were ready to fight and die for her children. It's for all children. She recorded a message for the Council. "Die Arbiter Velthus. 72 hours have passed. My sons have not been returned. So let me tell you what happens next." She held up a data pad showing the human fleet. Thousands of ships. Millions of soldiers. This is not a declaration of war. War is too small a word for what is coming. This is a promise. I am coming for my sons, and nothing in this galaxy will stop me. You have seen humanity at peace, and now you will see humanity at war, and you will learn why the universe should fear the dark. She paused, and her voice dropped to a whisper. "Every hour my sons remain captive, I will take one of your systems. Every day they suffer, I will make your council bleed. You wanted to teach humanity a lesson? Let me teach you one instead. Never threaten a human's children, especially when their mother commands the fleet." She ended the transmission. The human fleet launched 6 hours later. 10,000 ships moved toward Council space. And at the front, aboard the flagship HSS Vengeance, General Park Yuna watched the stars streak past. She was coming for her boys, and the galaxy was about to learn what that meant. The Galactic Council had laughed when they received humanity's message. High Arbiter Velthus showed it to the other council leaders, and they all agreed. Humans were young, humans were foolish, humans would learn. The council had existed for 12,000 years. They controlled 1,000 species and 10,000 worlds. Their fleets numbered in the hundreds of thousands. What could one small species do against such power? They found out on the 4th day. The Battle of Varith's Gate was supposed to be impossible. The gate was the main entrance to Council space, protected by 300 warships and defense platforms that had never been broken. Military experts said it would take any attacking force at least 2 months to get through. Admiral Yun Taiwan broke through in 6 hours. The council commanders could not understand what was happening. Human ships moved too fast. They turned too quickly. They appeared in places they should not be and disappeared before anyone could shoot them. And their weapons. The council had never seen anything like them. One moment, a council warship was firing. The next moment, every system on the ship shut down. No power, no weapons. No engines, no life support. The ships just stopped. Then human. Boarding parties came through, taking prisoners instead of killing. By the time the sun set on Vareth Prime, the gate had fallen. 300 council ships were captured or destroyed. Human losses were 17 ships. The council stopped laughing. News of the defeat spread across the galaxy. Been part of the council for thousands of years began to whisper. How had the humans done it? How had they become so strong so fast? General Park Yuna did not give them time to find answers. She pushed forward, system after system, world after world. Her strategy was simple and terrifying. She did not conquer. She liberated. Many worlds under council control were not there by choice. Species had been forced to join. Planets had been occupied. People had been enslaved. When human ships arrived, they did not attack civilians. They opened the prison camps. They broke the chains. They armed the oppressed and let them choose their own future. We are not here to rule you, Yuna, announced to each world. We are here to free you. The council took my children. I will not let them take yours. The response was overwhelming. Species that had been silent for centuries rose up. Rebellions erupted on 100 worlds. The council was suddenly fighting not just humanity, but its own slaves. High Arbiter Velthus was furious. He called an emergency session of the council. We must crush the humans now, he demanded. Send everything we have. Destroy their homeworld. Make an example of them. But the council was divided. Some species wanted to fight. Others wanted to negotiate. And some were beginning to think that maybe the council had made a terrible mistake. Ambassador Quellis of the Mindari stood up. The Mindari were a peaceful species, known for their wisdom and their dislike of violence. We started this war, Quellis said quietly. We kidnapped children to threaten their mother. This is not justice. This is not protection. This is cruelty. I will not support it any longer. She walked out of the chamber. 3 other ambassadors followed her. The cracks in the council were growing. Meanwhile, General Yuna pushed deeper into council space. The Morathan system fell. Then Kelzax. Then Vorin. Each victory brought more allies, more ships, more soldiers who wanted to fight against the council. But Yuna was not celebrating. Every night she sat alone in her quarters and looked at pictures of her sons. She wondered if they were eating. She wondered if they were scared. She wondered if they knew she was coming. Admiral Bikunji's Shadow Fleet had found where the twins were being held. A secure facility on a moon in Sindari space, deep behind enemy lines. Getting there would be almost impossible. The Sindari homeworld was protected by 700 warships. We cannot fight through that many ships, Yanji reported. Not without losing most of our fleet. Yuna stared at the map for a long time. Then we do not fight. We sneak. She turned to Dr. Han Mira. Is Project Prometheus ready for full deployment? Yes, General. But if we use everything now, we will have nothing left for later. There will be no later if I do not get my sons back. Deploy everything. The plan was insane. 40 shadow ships would slip through the Sindari defenses using experimental cloaking technology. At the same time, the main human fleet would attack from the front, drawing attention away from the infiltration team. Meanwhile, Yuna ordered something else, something that would break the council's spirit. Human ships began broadcasting on all frequencies, not threats, not demands, just sounds. The sounds of children crying. The sounds of parents calling for their babies. The sounds of families being torn apart. It was psychological warfare. It was a reminder to every species in the galaxy what the council had done. They had taken children. They had used innocence as weapons. The broadcasts played constantly, day and night. Across every system, the humans touched. Council soldiers began to desert. They could not stand the sounds, could not stop thinking about their own children, their own families. They had joined the military to protect people, not to kidnap babies. General Yuna sent one final message to High Arbiter Velthos. I am coming for you. I am coming for my sons. And when I find them, nothing you have will stop me. You wanted to teach humanity fear? Let me show you what we learned instead. We learned that fear is a weapon. And we learned to aim it at our enemies. She paused, and her eyes burned with cold fire. Every hour my sons remain captive, I take another system. Every day they suffer, your council breaks a little more. Return them now, and this ends. Keep them, and I will not stop until the council is nothing but ash and memory. The transmission ended. Velthus did not respond. But that night, for the first time in his long life, he could not sleep. The humans were coming. And he was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. The Galactic Council had stood united for 12,000 years. Nations had risen and fallen, stars had been born and died, but the Council had always remained strong, unbreakable. Eternal, it took humanity 6 weeks to shatter it. 3 species formally withdrew from the Council on the same day. The Mindari were first led by Ambassador Quellis. Then the Valoran, who had never forgotten how the Council had conquered their homeworld centuries ago. Then the Cassari, who simply said they could not support a government that kidnapped children. More followed. Some species did not leave the Council, but they stopped fighting. Their ships stayed in port. Their soldiers refused to fire on humans. They had seen what humanity did to liberated worlds. They'd heard the crying children on the broadcasts. They wanted no part of this war. High Arbiter, Velthus watched his coalition crumble with growing panic. He had been so confident. Humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to surrender when they saw the Council's power. Instead, they had turned his power against him. He made a decision. If he could not win the war, he would at least keep his hostages. He ordered the twins moved to the most secure facility in Sindari space. It was built inside a hollowed-out moon, protected by force fields, defense platforms, and a permanent garrison of 10,000 soldiers. No one had ever escaped from it. No one had ever broken into it. Velt believed the boys would be safe there. It was wrong. Lieutenant Kim Boyong had served in the Special Forces for 15 years. She was small and quiet, the kind of person you would forget 5 minutes after meeting her. That was what made her so dangerous. She could go anywhere, do anything. No one would notice until it was too late. When General Yuna asked for volunteers for the rescue mission, Boyang was the first to step forward. "I will bring them home," she said, "or I will die trying." Yuna looked at her for a long moment. "You understand this is probably a one-way mission. The chances of survival are very low." Boyong nodded. "I have a daughter, General. She is 6 years old. When I look at your sons, I see her. I see every child in the galaxy who could be taken by powerful people who think they can do whatever they want. This is not just about your family. This is about all of our families." Yuna took her hand. "Bring my boys back, Lieutenant, and come back yourself. That is an order." Boyang smiled. "I will do my best, General." The mission began 3 days later. Admiral Baekhyungi's shadow fleet slipped through the Sindari defenses like ghosts. The experimental cloaking technology worked perfectly. 700 enemy warships saw nothing as 40 human ships passed right under their noses. At the same time, as the main human fleet attacked from the front, General Yuna led the charge herself, drawing every Sindari ship toward her. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. Ships on both sides were destroyed, but the shadow fleet was invisible. Moving silently toward the moon, Boyang's team landed on the moon's surface without being detected. There were 12 of them, the best soldiers humanity had. They moved through the facility like shadows, avoiding patrols, disabling cameras, hacking security systems. They found the twins in a cell deep underground. Doyan and Jiwoo were alive, but they were not okay. Jiwoo had been experimented on. The Sindari scientists had wanted to understand human biology, so they had taken samples. Blood, tissue, things that should never be taken from a child. He was thin and pale, and his arms were covered in needle marks. Doyan had not been physically harmed, but something inside him had broken. He had watched his brother suffer and could not help him. He had not spoken in weeks. His eyes were empty. Boyong knelt beside them. "I am Lieutenant Kim Boyong. Your mother sent me. I am here to take you home." Gu started crying. Doyan just stared at her like he could not believe she was real. "Can you walk?" Boyang asked. Giwoo nodded. Doyan said nothing, but he stood up. Good, stay behind me. Do exactly what I say. We are getting out of here. The extraction went wrong almost immediately. An alarm went off. Someone had found the bodies of the guards they had killed. Suddenly, the entire facility was awake and hunting them. Boyoung's team fought their way toward the extraction point. One by one, her soldiers fell. First Park Hyun-soo, shot while covering their retreat. Then Lee Jimin, killed by an explosion. Then Choi Suna, who threw herself in front of a blast meant for the twins. By the time they reached the landing pad, only Boyoung and 2 others were left, and they were surrounded. Go Boyoung said to her remaining soldiers, "Get the boys to the ship. I will hold them off. Lieutenant, you will die. I know." She smiled, and there was peace in her eyes. "Tell my daughter I love her. Tell General Yuna I kept my promise." She turned and charged at the enemy soldiers. She was shot 3 times in the first second, but she did not stop. She kept firing, kept moving, kept killing, until her body finally gave out. Her last words were for the twins, who were being dragged toward the rescue ship by the remaining soldiers. "Your mother is coming," she whispered. "Hold on, she is coming." The Shadow Fleet extracted the survivors and escaped before the Sindari could respond. 37 soldiers had died, but the twins were safe. General Yuna received the message on the bridge of the HSS Vengeance. Heavy losses. They are alive. She stood very still for a long moment. Then she closed her eyes, and tears rolled down her cheeks. Her sons were coming home, but her heart was also breaking for the soldiers who had given their lives. For Boyoung, who would never see her daughter again. For all the parents who would get the worst news imaginable, she wiped her tears and turned to her officers. "Prepare to receive the survivors, and prepare a message for the council. The war is almost over. Now we finish it." The twins returned to their mother on the 53rd day of the war. The whole galaxy watched as the transport ship landed on the HSS Vengeance. Cameras broadcast the moment to every world, every station, every ship that could receive a signal. Billions of beings held their breath. The doors opened. 2 thin, tired boys walked out, and there was General Park Yuna, the Iron Maiden of Seoul, the woman who had brought the mighty Galactic Council to its knees. She did not look like a general in that moment. She looked like a mother. She ran to her sons and wrapped her arms around them. She held them so tightly that it seemed she would never let go. And she cried. The most feared human in the galaxy cried like any parent would when their lost children finally came home. Doyen, who had not spoken in weeks, whispered something into her ear. No one else could hear what he said. But Yuna's tears came faster, and she kissed his forehead and held him even tighter. Jiwoo was crying too. His body was still weak from what the Sindari had done to him, but he was alive. He was with his mother. He was safe. The galaxy watched, and something changed. For 53 days, they had seen humanity as monsters, destroyers, conquerors who burned everything in their path. Now they saw the truth. Humans were not fighting for power. They were not fighting for territory. They were fighting for love. The war ended quickly after that. The Sindari Collective surrendered first. Their own people had turned against High Arbiter Velthos after they learned what had been done to the twins. He was arrested by his own guards and put in a cell to await trial for crimes against children. Other council species followed. One by one, they sent messages to General Yuna, begging for peace. They did not want to fight anymore. They had seen what humans could do when they were angry. They did not want to find out what happened next. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Council called an emergency assembly. For the first time in history, human representatives were invited to attend. General Park Yuna walked into the great chamber with her sons on either side of her. They had refused to leave her. After everything that had happened, they wanted to stay close to their mother. No one tried to stop them. The chamber was enormous, filled with representatives from hundreds of species. Many of them looked at Yuna with fear. Some looked at her with respect. A few looked at her with shame. She walked to the central platform and stood before them all. 53 days ago, she began, you took my children. You did this because you were afraid of humanity. You thought that if you held something precious hostage, we would obey. You thought that fear would make us weak. She paused and looked around the chamber. You were wrong. Fear did not make us weak. It made us remember who we are. We are the species that survived ice ages and plagues. We are the species that climbed out of caves and reached for the stars. We are the species that fights hardest when we have something to protect. Her voice grew softer, but somehow it carried even further. I did not come here for revenge. I did not come here to destroy the council or conquer the galaxy. I came here to get my sons back. And now that I have them, I want to tell you something important. She put her hands on her son's shoulders. This is Doyan. This is Jiwoo. They are not weapons. They are not bargaining chips. They are children. My children. And what you did to them was wrong. Not because I am a general. Not because humanity is powerful, but because they are innocent, and innocence should be protected, not exploited. She looked directly at the representatives who had voted to kidnap her sons. I could destroy you. Even now, my fleets surround your worlds. My soldiers wait for my command. I could make you pay for every moment my sons suffered. Many of you expect me to do exactly that. The chamber was completely silent, but I will not. Because that is not who we are. Humans do not fight to conquer. We fight to protect. The same love that drove me to war is the love that will make me choose peace. But this peace comes with a condition. She held up a document. This is the Una Accords, a new law for the galaxy. No species, no government, no power may ever again take children as hostages or use them as political tools. Any who break this law will face the full might of humanity. Not for vengeance, but for justice. She put the document on the central pedestal. Sign this, and the war ends today. Refuse, and we will continue until every child in the galaxy is safe. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Ambassador Quellis of the Mindery walked forward and signed the document. Then the Valoran representative. Then the Cassari. One by one, species came forward and added their names. Even the remaining Sindari representative signed, his hands shaking with shame. When it was done, Una nodded. The war is over. Let us build something better. Not as conquerors and conquered, but as neighbors, as partners, as beings who finally understand that our children are more precious than any power. She took her son's hands and walked out of the chamber. 6 months later, 12 species left the old council and formed a new alliance with humanity. They called it the Coalition of Free Worlds. And its first law was the protection of children everywhere. General Park Una retired from the military. She had done enough. She had fought enough. Now she wanted to be just a mother. On her last day in uniform, a reporter asked her what she wanted people to remember about the war. She thought for a moment, then smiled. I want them to remember that we did not fight because we are strong. We fought because we love. And love will always be stronger than fear. That night, she sat at home with her sons. Jiwoo was recovering slowly. His body was healing and his laughter was coming back. Doyeon was talking again, little by little. Finding his voice once more, they sat together on the couch, watching the stars through the window. Mom, Jiwoo said quietly, I knew you would come. Even when I was scared, even when everything hurt, I knew you would find us. Una pulled him close. Always, no matter what. No matter where. I will always come for you. Doyen leaned against her other side. The whole galaxy knows now, he said. They know what happens when someone hurts a human's family. Una smiled sadly. I wish they had learned it another way. I wish no one had to get hurt. They did learn, Jiwoo said. And maybe now, no other kids will go through what we did. Una kissed the tops of their heads. That is all I ever wanted. Outside, the stars shone down on a galaxy that had changed forever. They had learned a lesson that would echo through centuries. Never threaten a human's family, especially not when their mother commands the fleet.